Oh hey all, and welcome back. So today we have TR and Twinferno. And Twinferno is a remake of an old, I guess it's a G1 character, who I'm not actually familiar with, but he is an interesting looking guy. You've got sort of this rigid square look mixed with some roundish organic shapes. So packaged just like all the others. You've got the head landing on there. The same back, previewing other figures. We've got a new version of Optimus Prime. Then Hot Rod, which I did a review before, and Six Shot. But you can also see the gimmick as well as the transformation. So let's go ahead and get this guy out of the package and check him out. Alright, now we have him out of the package, and of course, he comes with a card like the other ones do. And something about the illustration to mention, the proportions that are in the illustration, I think, would have been a little bit more ideal than what we actually got in this figure. And I'll go over that once we get back in robot mode. But this thicker, these larger robot arms, I think would have made the figure look a lot better. But let's go ahead and talk about the alt mode. And I started in alt mode this time because it is a strange thing. And I did look up the original figure, and this is pretty truthful as far as the square torso and legs, all that, with these organic feet and arms. That's what it was like. However, I would say that the larger heads that they used on the original figure were a little bit more, better fitted proportionally. Talking about this alt mode though, it is strange. I do think, even though they were trying to be faithful to this original figure, I might have liked this a little bit better had they gone with a pure mechanical dragon. Rather than having these sort of hairy, muscular arms and feet, just using a robotic type setup. I mean, it's a mythical creature, so what's the point of trying to go with this sort of semi-realistic look? It is 80s, it is G1, it is weird, but in some people, this may not be for you. But it is an interesting mode, to say the least. What I do like, I like this smoke translucent wings. I like to see this plastic used on other bots. What's interesting, though, is that this is slightly smokier, but not to the same extent. This is where you have the cockpit. And this pops off, and I'll go over that in a second. And the cockpit is where you put the head mode. So I'll pop him out here. But yeah, this alt mode, it will stand okay. Takes a little bit of adjusting to get. Not everyone's going to like it. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of it. It is weird. It's definitely very 80s. As far as the quality of it goes, though, the arms, all this stuff up here is fairly solid. The blasters they combine back here, which are seated as well, so you can fit a Titan Master in there, which is a nice touch. What is not well or properly executed are two things. One, the tail does not snap together well. Either this part or this portion, they just don't stick together. They keep popping out. I think maybe if I go in there and do a little bit of filing or something, it might work better. But as is, it does not transform properly. Another thing is this hip design. It's just a bad design. It does make for good feet, but these pegs, this whole setup back here where it's supposed to lock in, it's already causing stress marks. It's not great. So if you just leave it loose and find a way of balancing the figure, it will hold up, but this does not lock in like you would hope. So that, I'm going to have to knock it. You know, getting past the look of it and the aesthetic alone, that is an issue. Now, go ahead and set him over here. Hopefully I didn't mess that up. Yeah, he'll still stand. So we'll get him over here. Yep. Alright, got him to stand. Alright, and then the Titan Master, I mean, they're really skimping on painting these. And this one, I don't know if he's supposed to look like this, but he has got a wonky looking face. It's almost like he has a monocle. Yeah, that is strange. I don't know if the camera is going to capture that too well, but yeah. It's an okay design. It's just very plain looking. The face is solid white, but I think the sculpt, the details are nice on the face design. So, as is, it's not much different than the rest of them. Same possibility. It is what it is. But the gimmick is still a pretty nice gimmick. But we're going to go ahead and put him into robot mode. So, fold him up. You have a head like that. And what's interesting, they did a bit less on ball joints with this and focused more on these hinges. And there's some very solid engineering in that respect. So we have the weapon here, and it locks together, and of course it could be sitting like a gunner. Pops apart, have two weapons. I do like the gun design. I do think this is a bit better than a lot of the weapons we've gotten for other Titan Masters. So we'll set those aside. As far as the legs go, feet fold in, fold back here. This turns out. This folds out. And from the pictures, I mean, it does seem very faithful to the original figure. And then the feet fold under. I do think the feet design is not bad. I think there's some interesting things going on here in that respect. So we've got the feet in here, and that's all very similar to the G1 transformation, just from what I saw in pictures. Now, the rest, I mean, it's a very intuitive design. And when I first did this, you didn't even need the instructions. So we've got here, and maybe you can mess around and sort of have a... I do kind of like that little dragon mode here, even with the wonky arms. These arms I just do not care for. I think this is definitely a figure that could use a little bit of customization. I might see if I have some old figures that work for that. So then what we've got here is this snaps out. There's two pegs down there that would go in the back of this. And this goes forward. And fold the arms down. And it just folds together. Nice and simple. These arms rest. They have a nice little groove back here where it fits in. I really, really like this torso design. Now the other thing that, I mean, a lot of people aren't going to care for are these arms. And, I mean, the same thing goes here. I think rather than going with the rounder design, if they would have gone something a little bit more just blocky like the rest of it, and even a larger mass, I think larger arms also would help. But it is what it is. So you've got the wings back there, and that's complete. And then you just pop the head in. And I do, you know, after having him in hand, I've seen pictures of the guy, and I was really not sure what I thought. I do like him as a robot. I think he is a nice feeling figure. He feels a bit heavier, not so hollow like some of the other figures that have come out. I do like the overall face sculpt. I love the torso design. The legs look good in robot mode, but the arms are a little strange. Now about the arms, say you thought you might have something with the mushroom peg or whatever that you might want, or ball joint that you might want to try. It's not going to work because this is all hinges. You've got a hinge here on the wrist, hinge on the elbow, and that uses a pin. Same with the shoulders, hinge, and then you have a rotation there. And so that covers the articulation, but it shows you the only way that you'd be able to make an arm work is if you slid the mushroom peg shoulder out and had a similar type design from another robot that would work in there. Of course, you would lose the sort of dragon aspect of this, but if you did want to kind of mess with the robot mode, I do think he's a little bit more solid than some of the other figures from this line, just because these joints are a lot more rigid, things don't pop off, he has a little bit more weight to him, doesn't feel as hollow. It's just a different design. It's a very strange thing, almost bootleggish in a way, even though it is official. It's just such a weird combination. But I kind of dig it, and I think the more I mess around with it, the more I like it. But you have total articulation. We've got those arms that we talked about with the rotation there and all the different pivot points. Then we've got no waist. We've got thigh axis, flap comes forward, swivel, knee hinge. And as far as foot goes, it has a joint there for transformation that gives you a little bit of posability, but not a whole lot there. But you do get some rotation as far as that forward movement. Wings move, and then we've got the two weapons here. And now the way he holds it in his hands, I'm not entirely keen on, just because he's got this peg here, and it just looks like a gun and a peg. I mean, it doesn't even look like he's holding it, which is, I don't know. I don't think it's great. So I'm not even going to bother with that one. There's a couple other places we've got in the wings. And everything's really, really tight on this. Yeah, on the wings, also have a port. And I don't want to risk stressing that. And then there's an official mode. The way these combine, it also. Let's see, try it this way. Or maybe it's the shoulders. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, goes in the shoulders. Though it does have a port next to the shoulders, it looks identical, but it's not really going in on mine. Let's try the other one. Yeah, it's really loose on that port. So on the shoulders, you have a port for the guns. It's not right. It's that one. That way they're symmetrical. So yeah, I think even that actually makes the figure look even better. It fills it out a little bit. I don't know. It's just a neat little piece. So if you were fond of this one with G1, I do think this one is pretty truthful to the original design. Other than the flaw with the alt mode transformation, the strange aesthetic. If that's your thing, I mean, this thing really is a decent figure. If you do like the way it looks, as far as everything else is built. I do think just that tail section on the rear, you might have to do a little bit of work to make it fit together nicely, but it is a neat figure. So anyway, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.